everyone. Some of you are probably coming over from, oh, my bra strap showing, coming over from my fashion show that I just did on my personal page. If you're interested in fashion, guy or girl, send me a friend request. Let me know that's why you sent it to me. Though I think I'm going to do like Alex Merced and have like just 5 profiles so I don't have to limit myself to 5,000 friends. So, as most of you know, I'm going to be doing a lot more multimedia. I have a lot of projects in the works. My YouTube channel will be now done very seriously. I kind of did a proof of concept with those several tutorial videos on how to become a delegate. Those will be getting pulled down, and I'll be redoing them with more generic information and what things I learned and in shorter chunks, so that there'll be a series well ahead of the next convention. I started it too late, but I kind of also wanted to see how it'd be received. Needed to get back into video editing. It's been a while since I did that, blah, blah, blah. So I'm building out my YouTube studio in the basement, and it's not as fancy as it sounds. It's a corner in the basement where I got this cool little accent chair, you know, off of classifieds. And what else did I just get? Oh, but a badass table. This table I got for 40 bucks is probably worth several hundred. Like, I could like go to the antique place and get rid of it if I wanted to. So I got this great table. So now I'm on the hunt for the right lamp. I'll know it when I see it. Prefer free, but if it's cool enough, like vintagey, funky. I don't even know really what I'm looking at. Heavy, like heavy cast iron. I don't know. I'll know it when I see it. Like, this table isn't at all what I had envisioned, but when I saw it, it was perfect. So, why is this the People Suck edition? I'll drink to that. Because people do suck. Not all of them. Most of you don't, but some of you do. The stories that people spin about others can be just amazing. You know, there's something that's usually true, and what my pastor used to say was, don't worry about what people think of you, because they don't. Humbling, right? And it's usually true, but unfortunately it's not always true in my case. There's some people who spend a great deal of time thinking about me, and you know, while I should be flattered, don't. It's weird. It's creepy. You know, get a hobby or cats, something. So, what triggered this latest edition of People Suck? Well, you know, my perennial tag-along, who shall not be named, decided that since I converted my campaign group into just a discussion group, that this means somehow that I'm running for chair next year. No, I mean next convention. I'm not planning on it. I mean, if you had asked me 2 years ago if I was going to run for secretary, I'd have said no. So now I don't rule anything out, but let me tell you, that's not in my immediate plans. After my 2-year stint as secretary, I'm probably going to run for public office. That is what's on my horizon. Running for state house in Colorado, most likely. But who knows? Won't rule out running for chair, but it isn't on my plan. I'm also not running against Bill Weld. The announcement I put out the other day that I have an exciting announcement coming up, immediately I started getting all these guesses. A, that my announcement was going to be that I'm starting my chair run now. No. Or that I'm going to run against Bill Weld. No. Running against Bill Weld is more likely than a chair run, and neither of them are very likely. So no, now my announcement is going to seem really, really boring in comparison to that. So it's like, oh, come on, guys, don't do these big things, because then when I say, now I feel stupid for making an advance announcement. Anyway, appears we don't have that many libertarians. Matthew didn't show up. You know, Matthew, where's my pen? I'm going to mark you down. You didn't show up. You always show up like clockwork. Or Facebook's not telling me, because I see it saying 2 people are watching. We'll see if one of those is you, Matthew. So now in the other edition of People Suck. So I was just browsing around, minding my own business, and I see this comment, and I'm not going to name names because, you know, let's name names of people who are great and not of people who suck. And if this happens to be you or someone you know, then maybe you'll tell them that this probably isn't the way to behave in the liberty movement. I think we need to start calling people out and holding people more accountable. So I'm just browsing around, and I see someone say, oh, we got rid of that Arvin guy, but now we have the crazy pink-haired person, and she's going to be forcing her vision of liberty and ethics on people. And I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is. Like, you know me, I don't know you. Sorry, sorry, I have no idea who you are again. But I mean, I know him like briefly, like enough. Like, I remember having a couple interactions, but other than that, like, I don't know what he means by my idea of ethics. My idea of ethics are the Libertarian Party platform. But it immediately degenerated into weird Google searches about me, which I just find kind of creepy. Why would you be doing Google searches on me? Not that I like care, I'm a public figure, like you expect it, but it's still weird. Don't you think it's weird, dude, that you're sitting at home running Google searches on some woman you like don't know, who's just like happens to be secretary of the party? I'm sorry, I think that's weird. And apparently he's been doing this for a while, which is weirder, because he said that the results that he's getting now are different than the results he got before. Creepy. And I must be scrubbing the internet. Dude, A, you can't. And B, I've got better things to do. Apparently what the big scandal is something that you guys know a lot about. And let me tell you again, in case you don't know, I come from a very fundamentalist Christian background. And I was very, very active in that community. One reason I was very active in that community is I also come from, and I hope, you know, the jerks that are doing the Google searches on me feel bad after this, but they won't. But some of you may understand a bit more where I'm coming from. So I come from a fundamentalist Christian background, but I also came from 20 years of an abusive marriage. Let's just put it bluntly. It was something I shouldn't have been in for 20 days, never mind 20 years. Why did I stay? I stayed partly because of my religion. In fundamentalist Christianity, you do not get divorced. You just don't. It doesn't matter what's happening. You don't get divorced. And also in the same fundamentalist Christianity, I started going into clinical depression because of the bad home situation. And in that version, you also don't take antidepressants. So you could see it was a very perfect storm that wounded me a great deal. I still have a lot of scars. And the only thing I was allowed, and I do say allowed, I'm not saying that sarcastically, I was of the mindset that the woman is the helpmeet of the husband, and that you get permission. You get permission for what you want to do. That literally was the life that I had. And the only thing I was allowed to do was churchy kind of stuff. So I got really involved with church stuff because that is what was acceptable to my husband. He was very controlling. And you can only not have a hobby or things for very long. Let me tell you a bit about how controlling he was. I was allowed to have one female friend that I could talk to and tell her everything, and it had to be someone he approved of. So I couldn't speak to my mother. I'm sorry, I might get a little upset because it's like people digging into your past. They don't know what you've been through. I'm lucky to be alive. And it's not that my ex was a bad person. He had his own things. You know, he apologized to me. We've mended bridges and all that. We were both broken people. So don't take any of this as me saying he was a bad person. We both were wounded by religion, had our own issues, and I wish him all the best. But I can only talk about my story. I'm reading comments. Okay, I'll read comments at the end. I shouldn't do that. It distracts me. ADD. So that's my background and why I got so involved in religion. And religion was my comfort because I had nobody, particularly when my mother died. I was painfully close to my mother. And when she left, my world fell apart. I didn't have any friends. I wasn't allowed to have very many friends. Not friends that I was close to. Only friends that I could put on the face, the happy Christian face too. So I got very, very involved in the church. And my ex is, well, I don't want to tell too much about him because, again, it doesn't matter. This isn't about him. This isn't to blame him. But due to life circumstances, I wasn't allowed to use my real name. He forbid me from using my real name in any ministry work because he was very, very paranoid about privacy. And he also was convinced that basically women were in the world for one thing, particularly when you're younger. You're talking about I was in my 20s. And that was for men to look at and lust over, basically. And he didn't want too much of my personal information out there because he was convinced that the only reason anyone was paying attention to me was because they wanted to get with me. It says more about him than it does about anyone else or me, but this is the jealousy situation that I was in. And let me tell you, things got so bad. I would come home from work and I would have to explain why the curtain wasn't in the exact same place it was when I left. Like it could be over an inch. And he said I had to have an explanation for that. He said, you had your boyfriend crawling through the window, didn't you? Literally, that's my life. And when the wax ring broke under our toilet in the bathroom, rather than it just being aging, right? They break. No, my fat boyfriend who I snuck in through the window must have sat on the toilet and broke it. Literally, this was my life. I couldn't buy certain things if they looked a certain way. I don't even want to get into it. It's like almost embarrassing. So my refuge, and I dove into, was my faith really badly. So I see these complete strangers on the internet going and looking at my past life and going, oh my God, look, she just gets into these things and dumps them. Dude, you know nothing about my life. You are in no place to judge me. You do not know that that was a life raft for me. And the hell I went through at home. How dare you? Really, I mean, that's all I have to say. That's just completely scummy. So now you know. Now you know the place that came from. So now why am I not as involved with religion? Well, after I divorced, I had a big crisis of faith. Because you don't divorce in fundamentalist Christianity. And I started looking at the Bible more critically. I started really questioning the hardcore beliefs I had, like about gay people and things like that. And I realized that it didn't comport with what I knew about people. Like, I really didn't believe that. It's like, that's what my church said, but I didn't believe it. And I also didn't believe that women should be subservient and seen and not heard and not be teachers and all these gifts that I kept down because that is what my religion taught me. And I also didn't think, mental illness like depression was from the devil, all those things. So for years I've been distancing myself from that for me, not for anyone else, for me. And now I've come to the spot where for a while, people thought that I was just going to become an atheist, I guess. But no, I'm still a Christian. But you'd consider me a liberal Christian. You'd consider me an affirming Christian. You'd consider me someone who's not going to judge other people, that I've got enough things. And my former religious circles think I'm unsaved now, I guess. I know. I don't know. I don't care. That isn't me anymore. But God is real in my life, so I'm still a Christian. So I am still as much involved in religion, just not that kind of life, because I now have a wonderful husband and I'm free. And I think that's what led me to find libertarianism, is I haven't been free and now I've been free. So the message of liberty is very, very personal to me. So when I hear these people going on and go, oh, she used to use a different name, and you try to pretend like this is some kind of conspiracy, I feel like just flipping you the bird, quite honestly. You do not know what pain that came from. Do you think I wanted to go around using a different name? It was the only way I could have a life from my ex. It's the only way I was allowed to do anything. So you can kiss my ass, literally, when you get with that. So then when I got divorced, why did I still keep things under that name? Well, I had made a name for myself under that name. I had been a guest lecturer at Appalachian State University in a philosophy of religion course. I've been on radio shows all over the world. So it's kind of like if Stephen King wanted to not write under, not that I was at that level, but I'm just trying to give you a comparison. He has to be Stephen King now, even though it's not his name. So as long as I was still doing ministry work, I would have lost 20 years of work if I immediately switched to my government name. But nowhere did I hide that it was a pseudonym. Everyone knew it was a pseudonym. I had a stalker, I had a cyber stalker who made sure everyone knew it was a pseudonym. And you can imagine the hell I went through in my home when that happened. So that's the story with the name, people. So when I got divorced and I got remarried, I was still working on writing my book. And we'll talk about my book. And my book was going to be under that name because that's what people knew me as. That's what I'm quote unquote known for in Christian circles. And if you want to discount my quote unquote reputation or whatever in Christian circles, my book is being used at Liberty University. That's not minor. You know, I self-published it and have made more than it cost me to publish it. That doesn't happen much to self-publish people. So there's that. But as I started getting involved in politics, I was like, I don't have this chain around me anymore. So I'm not going to continue using this name in politics because that's stupid and I don't have to do that. And that's my past life. So anything that had to do with the Christian stuff I did, I kept under my writing name. And anything to do with politics, I was free. I was free to be who I was. So that's why there was that division point. But people who knew me right when I moved to Colorado, right when I found libertarianism, it said right on my about page on the profile, this is my writing name. It's for Christian work. This is my former married name. This is my current married name. Like full disclosure all the way. So these people with these weird conspiracy theories, you're just a bad person. You're just a bad person for spreading crap like that. So let's talk about my book. This is something I'm very proud of that people are trying to make me not proud of. You want to know what? If you haven't written a book, talk to the hand. Talk to the hand because I don't care. I'm proud of being an author. I never thought I would be an author. One of the proudest moments of my life. And I probably will write a few books on Christianity as well. I mean, libertarianism. So here's my book, and there's my writing name. My writing name was Dede Warren. Where did that come from? My ass. It came from my ass. I said, what's a name that I could, what was a name that my husband would accept that sounded enough like a real name so that I wouldn't get someone trying to figure out who I really was, even though I did, and though wasn't so terrible and like I could build a personality around, and I've always liked the name Dede, so that's how it happened. So that's why you'll still see people in my timeline calling me Dede or Deeds or Dizzle, because that was my ministry life. So yes, I used to be known as Dede Warren. And here's the book I wrote. It's not the end of the world, and it's about Christian eschatology. So if you're into that, you want this book. You want this book. And it is published by Zulon, self-published, but I've made more money. Why did I self-publish? I could have gotten published, but by a major publishing house. I mean, I had that credibility. I self-published because I knew this was probably going to be the only book I would write on this topic, and I didn't want to edit it down. The idea of this book was to be a complete reference to Matthew 24. So it's not a pick up from the beginning and read to the end book, though you could do that. It's a let's go to this verse and find something book. I wanted it to be my dream reference book, and I didn't want anyone else to get their grubby hands on it. I had some friends help me edit it, but I didn't want, so that's why it was self-published. And it cost me, I think, $2,500 to self-publish it. But again, I've made more than that. And it's under Creative Commons. So people were like, you don't believe in IP and you wrote a book. Copy it. I don't care. I've made what it cost me to produce it, and information is more important to me. I didn't do this to make money. I did this out of sheer love for the topic. It took me 10 years to write this book. And it's a great book for the topic. So if you want a commentary on Matthew 24 and a response to pop Christian eschatology, meaning like left behind dispensationalism, this is your jam. So the book is, and I like large books, so I got to do everything to do with this. And I designed the cover. I pretty much had my hands in everything. So it is with scripture index, 305 pages on one chapter of the Bible, on Matthew 24. 305 pages. It's got 440 endnotes. Don't tell me I'm not a researcher. And what's really interesting about this is it's a historical topic. So my love of history has carried me through all of my interests. So my love of history led me to be a churchy historian of a certain period of time. My love of history now with the Libertarian Party, so I probably will be writing a book on Libertarian Party history. So 440 very well documented footnotes, and it goes verse by verse, and it's funny. So like the title of this chapter, Matthew 24, The Abominable Straw Man. I'm funny. I make the end of the world funny. Not everyone can do that. That's how I know I can make bylaws funny. But for those of you, who are saying, oh, you found out my secret, let me go into the background here. I don't know whether any of you all who are also authors have this experience, but I read my own book and it doesn't feel like me. Like, if you've ever looked in the mirror and thought you looked foreign to yourself, I think everyone's gone through that experience. Like, you look at yourself and it's like, ooh, that's me. I get like in a weird state when I write, and it flows like it's inspiration, it's a muse, whatever you want to call it. And when I'm done, I read it and it's so good, not to say like bragging, it's actually putting myself down because I can't believe I wrote it. I'm like, I can't believe I wrote that. That's pretty good. But I'm trying to find something here. Oh my God, but I'm not brief. I'm trying to find something personal I had put in the front here. It's been out like 4 years, so I haven't looked at it in a while. Oh, maybe I didn't. I thought I did. Let's see. Preface, acknowledgments, endorsements. So what is the book? Oh, okay. In the preface, Roman numeral page 9, please note, Dede Warren is a writing pseudonym. At the time I began writing on the internet, I had the vain hope that I could keep my privacy and assumed this nom de plume. I didn't add in there that I wanted to keep my privacy because my husband required it, and otherwise I wouldn't have a life, because I didn't want to trash him in my book. And I said, while I no longer have this concern with keeping my legal name private, I had written so much under this name that I retain it for this purpose. I currently live in Castle Rock, Colorado with my beloved husband and worship at Scum of the Earth Church in Denver. I am formerly of Boynton Beach, Florida, where I lived for many years and where this work was authored. Oh, I was really keeping this secret, right? I'm just trying to hide it. Guys are just so stupid. People suck. There you go. What is the book about? It is, for those of you who are interested in Christian eschatology, Matthew 24, the second coming passage. Most of you are probably familiar, at least if you're an American, of Left Behind. That one day there's going to be the rapture and all the Christians are going to be spirited away. And I know there's variations of this. I'm just giving the LaHaye version. And, then the Great Tribulation and all of that, Nicholas Carpathia. That's bull. That isn't what the Bible teaches. So what this is showing, and contrary to some of the people who are writing about me today, they couldn't even get my position right. What it is showing that most of the things that the popular church think are going to happen in the future actually happened in the past, and remarkably so. Not everything. All Christians look forward to the resurrection from the dead, the final consummation of all things, that sort of thing. But like the Great Tribulation and all that really bad stuff, that already happened. So you can have a very optimistic view of mankind in the world. It's a very, I think, liberating view, because I don't think the world's going to hell. I actually think the world's getting better, and I think mankind is on a positive path rather than a negative one. And my eschatology helped me to do that. So if you're interested in that, and if you're a Christian here going, what in the world would make you think everything happened? Well, I'm going to preach at you a bit here. Go away if you don't like preaching, I guess. Matthew 24:34, Jesus on Mount Olivet said to his disciples, "Most assuredly I say to you, these things, this generation shall not pass away until all these things come to pass." On the face of it, what does that sound like? Sounds like he was saying all that stuff would happen before they died. It would be far enough away that not everyone who was standing there listening to him would be dead, but far enough away that at least some of them would be dead, because it wouldn't make any sense to something that was going to happen next week to say, you know, to a group of friends, some of you will still be alive when this happens. It's like, you know, I'm a prophet. I could get that right. I think everyone watching this live stream will still be alive in a week. But if you're talking about events 40 years in the future, some of you will still be alive. Most of you probably won't, including myself. But don't put it past me. You know, I think I might live to be over 100. I'm feisty. So that's why I think that if that piqued your interest, you can get the book on Amazon. And it's very, very well received. And again, used in an academic context. And I'm very proud of it. Why am I not so involved anymore? A, because I'm free. And I don't have to have religion as a crutch. B, because I've changed my views on religion. I wrote this as a fundamentalist. So there's passages in here, there's things said in here that I wouldn't believe anymore. Not very much though, because it was mostly just historical stuff. So that's one reason I'm not as involved. And B, I start projects with a goal, with something I want to accomplish. And what I wanted to accomplish was writing this book. And I accomplished it. So done. I moved on to other things because I did what I wanted to. I always wanted to be an author, and I took 10 years and I wrote this book. So I accomplished what I wanted to. During that period of time, I made some awesome friends. I owned one of the world's largest theology debate forums, Theology Web, where it was about 60% Christian, 40% non-Christian or atheist. That's where I learned how to debate, and it's why I am a skilled debater, because I did that for years and years. So I didn't, you know, one of my other fans, a lady fan, and I'm using fan sarcastically, had said, she's not doing this anymore because she was driven out. Where does this stuff come from? I have people begging me to get back involved. No, I wasn't driven out. I was done. And some circumstances happened that, to me, if those of you who don't believe in God and things like that, then you don't believe in signs, that I felt was a sign for me to be done. It was part of a painful past, and I had put 10 years into Theology Web. It was a great site, and one day it crashed. And I know everyone's had this experience. We did not have a backup. I know, we should have. Busy lives, woulda, shoulda, coulda. We did not have a backup. And on that server was all of Theology Web and all of my websites that had all of my work. So we sent the hard drive off and tried to recover it. It couldn't be recovered. And I took that as a sign of, look, I wiped the slate clean for you. Go forth, be free, do other things. So when we got at least Theology Web back up, I gave it. I could have sold it. I gave it to the most trusted volunteers I had there and said, here's my baby. Now you take and run with it. And I walked away. I wasn't driven out by any stretch of the imagination. I had some dear, dear friends in there. And when I'm talking about dear friends, I'm talking about the type of people where when I was going through my divorce and my husband left me with all of the bills, I was about to lose my house. I had the type of friend who wrote me a $5,000 check. You know, and I paid him back, but it was trust. You know, I said, I'm going to lose my house. He's like, how much do you need? I said, $5,000. I had a check in the mail the next day. He might actually even be watching this. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to embarrass him, but I did pay him back. So I definitely didn't walk away from that world. I just changed. I'm just no longer the same kind of Christian that I was. And I realized that isn't where most of my friends were at, and I wasn't going to force that forum in that direction. Just because I changed, I'm going to force everyone else to have different views around me? No. So then I came to Colorado. I didn't mean for this to be as long. Oh my God, but hey, it'll be here. When you see the sucky people, refer them to this. So when I came to Colorado, and I ended up getting married to Wayne, I work from home. And if you've never worked from home, particularly in a strange city, you don't realize that you make most of your friends at your job. And I didn't know anybody here. I knew a lot of people online, and they were my theological friends, and a lot of them were judging me, to be honest, for being divorced, and then moving to Colorado and moving in with Wayne when we weren't married. Okay, those of you from fundamentalist Christian backgrounds know that's a no-no. I rationalized it because we were going to get married. Now I wouldn't rationalize it at all, but I had a lot of angst over that because I was recovering. So there was like a year and a half where I was just desperately lonely. I didn't know anybody, and the type of church activities that I had in Florida, there just wasn't a counterpart here. It was different. I was very involved in Via de Cristo. In Florida, I was on the board of Via de Cristo. That was my thing. I loved Via de Cristo. That was a life-changing thing. Anyone want to know about it, ask me. I came here, there wasn't a Via de Cristo, there was an Emmaus, but it wasn't quite the same, and it just didn't have the same dynamic. And then I tried to get involved with ministry to the elderly because I have a heart for people who are in nursing homes that don't have anyone to visit them. Like, people just like they threw them away, you know, in a way, and they're very lonely. And a lot of these people have some fantastic stories to tell, and they just want someone to care that they exist. But the ministry just wasn't a good fit. And I figured, you know, if that's what God wants me to do, he'll lead me to a circumstance where it'll happen rather than it be with a ministry. But meanwhile, my husband's still saying, you need to get involved in something. You know, all you have is my friends. You need to have your own identity. And to me, that was foreign. My ex would have never said that. So I looked around to get involved in things, and the thing that plopped in my lap was the Libertarian Party. And now my husband's regretting saying get involved in something. So that's how that came about. And now I've made most of my friends through the Libertarian Party like I normally would at work. So there's that story and why people suck. So the rumors I heard over the past couple days of people minding my business by diving into my personal life and running Google searches on me and bringing up painful past and then totally twisting it. You guys are just terrible. You're terrible, and you should feel terrible. So now you know the story. So what I heard is that I got driven out of ministry. No, I didn't. I also, what else did I hear? Oh, that I'm scrubbing the internet. No, sites die. Just like Theology Web one day died. It happens. People sometimes turn from, they're no longer Christian and they're atheists, and they take down their website. Believe me, I don't have time to go around scrubbing the internet. I did a podcast for 3 years. Those recordings are all over the place. Really? Like, come on. You know, I wasn't a guest, but you know, like, I'm recorded on the Bible Answer Man with things. So, no. Let's see. Oh, and then the theory also was, see, people decide they're going to psychoanalyze me. They go, oh, we see the same pattern. So people have noticed that I'm no longer in the radical caucus. So they tend to think, I guess, that I'm no longer a radical. Nope, I'm just as radical. I believe in everything the radical caucus believes in. The reason I'm no longer in the radical caucus is I think as a party officer, you should not be affiliated officially with any caucus. I think it compromises your objectivity and it creates the appearance of favoritism, which ethically I'm not comfortable with. So that's why I didn't get thrown out of there. That's the next thing I'm expecting. So I didn't change my views, but what I had heard today from Mr. Terrible is, oh, this is the pattern. So when she got into religion, she went real extreme and then moderated her views. Like, and the way he put it was that I used to be, because he doesn't understand what preterism is. That's what this is. Like, I had the most extreme view of preterism, and then over the years, I moderated it. No, I have the same view of preterism I had in the beginning. I was never a full preterist, which is a very extreme form of preterism. I was always a orthodox preterist. So this weird story about how I went from, like, basically heretic to orthodox, no, sorry, didn't happen. Wish it did. That would make a much more interesting story. Nope. And now I guess I've gone from radical to not radical. Nope. just as radical. Sorry, I don't fit in your boxes and your narratives. Oh, and the other thing I heard today, so since we're going on the People Suck edition, some people go, why are you even addressing this? I'm addressing this, let me tell you why. Because a lot of people get bullied in this party and they're silent about it. You want to know what? I don't think people should be. I think you should confront it because it sucks. It sucks, it sucks, it sucks, and we should be shunning these people. The other thing I heard, but I love this because it's the snowflake effect. If you want to know what the snowflake effect, if you read Animal Farm, if you haven't, stop watching me right now and go read Animal Farm because it's wonderful. But in Animal Farm, there was a pig who wasn't going along with the slide towards fascism and totalitarianism, and his name was Snowball. And this other pig, Napoleon, in the meantime, was raising these puppies. I forgot, there's some kind of like mastiff, some kind of big nasty dog. And then when Napoleon decided he was going to take over, these puppies he was raising in secret, he came out with these dogs, and he ran Snowball off because Snowball was the good guy. And the way they kept the rest of the animals in line is that Napoleon would go out at night and destroy things and then blame it on Snowball. So he had to create this enemy. Snowball came in the night and destroyed our mill, or Snowball came in and ruined our food, you know, so that the animals would be united behind Napoleon as the protector. And it's what I call the snowball effect. Snowball was long gone. He was never seen again, but meanwhile, he was the scapegoat. Snowball did it. So with one of my fans, apparently when it comes to abortion, I'm Snowball. I wrote one article on abortion and I gave one talk on it. It's not my issue. It's not. It's one of the things I care about. It was something I cared about much more thoroughly when I was a Christian because I was working through a lot of personal guilt from having a couple abortions myself. And I find that women who are struggling with it like talking to other women who've been there because they can understand. And I still have that kind of ministry to women who are either thinking about an abortion or have had one, particularly in the church, because you can't talk about it and you will feel judged. You won't feel judged for me. I'll hug you and cry. You know, we've all done things that we regret, and maybe you've had one and don't regret it. That's fine too. So it's not my topic. I've worked through all that, and I've worked through the Libertarian Party being pro-choice and all of that, but that doesn't stop me from being pro-life, and I mention it, but it's not my thing. Let me tell you, I have been harassed and bullied more in this party over that issue, and it's a shame. It's a shame and a disgrace in this party that someone who does so much work and isn't pushing my view of abortion on the party there's people who say specifically that they are harassing me with the goal to drive me out of the party because there shouldn't be any pro-life people in the party. And all of you should be angry about that, no matter what your view is. Those of you who know me well know I don't push it. I don't. I was chair of the platform committee, and what did I tell the platform committee? I'm not in favor of any abortion proposals coming out of here, folks. It's not a good idea. Aaron Starr wanted one. And I said, you can propose it, but I don't think it'll pass. And allegedly, I did that only because I knew I was being watched. You know, I can't win. Nope, I didn't do that because I knew I was being watched. I did that because I think it's a horrible idea for the platform committee to screw around with the abortion flank. I didn't used to think that. Then I saw what happened in 2016 when they tried to, and I'm like, nope. My whole reason for wanting to get rid of the abortion flank is I think it's unnecessarily divisive, and then I saw what happened when the platform committee screwed with it, and we almost murdered each other in the hall, and I'm like, never again. The platform committee should never touch that as long as there's another means to change it. And we do have that means. It's called the token system, and it puts the power directly in the hands of the delegates where it should be, not some exclusive committee. So the extent of my involvement with the abortion plank is every once in a while I post the article I wrote, and I only post it when my fan is obsessing on me. I basically do it just to tweak her, to be honest with you. So if she wants me to stop posting it, maybe she should stop lying about me. Because I do it just kind of to be funny. Anyway, so all I do right now when it comes to this topic is if someone invites me to speak, I'll come speak. I want one day to do an interposition dialogue with Avens, who's a fantastic ambassador for the pro-choice view. And I cast my tokens. I cast my 5 tokens to delete the plank. That's the extent of my involvement. I didn't even ask anyone else to cast their tokens that way. I almost didn't cast mine. I got too busy. And then I remembered at the last minute, and I ran up there and put them in the box. But according to my fan, the reason there was so many tokens cast for abortion is because I did it. Snowball. I went and riled everyone up. I'm like, I'm flattered that you think I have that much influence, but I didn't. So maybe you ought to reevaluate your view on why there's so many people in the party who agree with me. It isn't because I rounded them up. And if you think that is because I rounded them up, it's because you know I know how to round up people. So if it got that many without me rounding people up, imagine what would happen if I did round people up, which I have no desire to do. But if I'm going to keep getting blamed for something, I'm ornery. I might just go, screw you. If you're going to keep blaming me for this, then maybe I'll do it. You know, it gets so tiring to, no matter what you do, it's twisted. It's not my thing. Would I love to see the abortion plank deleted? Yes. What am I willing to do right now to see it happen? Cast my 5 tokens. That's about it. I'm busy with other things. But if I'm going to be accused of it and go through the grief and try to be harassed out of the party, maybe I should make it my thing. Maybe I should revive Doris Gordon's Pro-Life Libertarians Caucus. Maybe I should do that. If I'm going to be blamed for it, why not, right? So this whole, like, let's attack her for her views is turning out to be very counterproductive, because if what you're trying to do is discourage me, the way you're doing it isn't the way, because I get stubborn. Why do I get stubborn? I get stubborn because I was abused for 20 years with somebody telling me I couldn't do something. So my reaction now when someone tells me I can't do something, it is, really? Watch me. Which is why I said in the convention floor when Aaron Starr was saying 7 ace is impossible, why I said, dude, if I wanted to delete the statement of principles, I'd get the 7 ace. I'd do it. It's not impossible. Because I'm stubborn like that. Because I've been held down so much in my life that, like, I feel it's like a trigger for me. It's like it revives the past where people told me I couldn't do things. That when somebody tells me or tries to put me down or bully me into not doing something, I fight back because I'm not doing that anymore. That ain't happening in my life anymore. I had that for 20 years from my husband and my church. You ain't doing it if you're watching. So if you'd like me to shut up about abortion, stop freaking harassing me about it, because you're going to have the exact opposite reaction. I didn't do nothing to you. Tired of it. And if I'm going to get blamed for it, if I'm going to get the grief for it, then maybe I'll make that. And you've seen me. I've got OCD. Like, literally, I do have OCD. Do you want me OCDing on this? Do you want me making abortion my thing? Now that you see how much support in the party is there for it? Because if I make it my thing, that plank will get deleted. I guarantee it. But I haven't made it my thing. It's just not. I wrote that article, and that was like the most time I've ever spent on it. And I get asked to speak every once in a while. That's it. The big conspiracy is because I once put a post on pro-life libertarians where I asked people in that group, how many of you don't join the party because of the plank? And that got twisted into me organizing a Republican takeover. You want to know why I asked that question? Go read my article. There's a footnote in my article of some statistics. I was asking the question just so I could put accurate statistics in my article. That was it. That's the only reason. And the things that people dream up out of whole cloth. Don't believe, when you hear people talking shit about other people, not necessarily me, anyone, don't believe it. Like, I'm just giving you examples of how things are so wrong. If it's happening to me, it's happening to others. It's probably happening to you. And it happens to prominent women in anything. In anything. So, they point out, oh my God, she's calling me a stalker. And she used to call someone a stalker when she was in ministry. Yeah, I did. And it was a stalker. Because prominent women get stalkers. There was this guy in Montana who was a polygamist and didn't believe that women should have a voice. And because I argued with him, he decided he was going to try to destroy me. It's very common in fundamentalist Christian circles for certain types of men to go after uppity women. And this guy stalked me. He's the one who uncovered my real name and made my life hell at home and put me in danger at home. He's the one that posted a map to my house to other men in the fundamentalist Christian movement and said perhaps someone should go to her house and shut her up. Imagine how my husband reacted to that. Yeah. You can imagine what I went through at home with that. If I had a dime for every time I was called a whore in that marriage, I'd be a millionaire. I mean, it was bad. It didn't get physical till the end. Good thing. You know, when you screw around in someone's life in their marriage, for all you know, you're causing them to get the shit beat out of them at home. Think about that before you play games on Facebook. It's all fun and games till someone gets hurt, right? And like this guy was harassing me. You don't know who you're harassing, okay? I mentioned in another video that, you know, I come from more of a lower class family. My dad was not a good man. Like, he was a good man to me, but I mean, he was a criminal. He was not to libertarians probably, you know, he was a bookmaker and a drug dealer. That was my dad. He dealt with the underworld. And my stalker, I was terrified that my dad would find out about him, because my dad would have done something about it. That dude is lucky. So during these 2 years, I'm protecting my stalker because I don't want my dad to find out, because I don't want anyone to get hurt, because people in that life, you don't screw with their daughter. You don't make their little girl scared. So, and I'm a pacifist and I almost got a gun to carry around. It was so bad with my stalker that he would call me at my work, and I worked in a law office. That takes some testicular fortitude, right? So it got to a point where in my professional paralegal job that there was a rule that no mail caller could be put through to me. Do you know how humiliating that is? That I'm the only person in the office that a mail caller couldn't be put through to? They had to just go to my voicemail. There was a picture of the guy at the front desk in case he ever came. And was I paranoid? No, he'd say things like, he'd send me his picture. And he'd say, here's a picture of me so you can recognize me in a crowd. That's the kind of mind fucks. Why? Do I need to recognize you in a crowd? Are you getting me now to not want to be in crowds because I'm scanning for your face because I don't know what you're going to do? Yeah, I had a stalker. So, make fun of that all you want. And it was before cyber stalking was a thing, so the police wouldn't do a damn thing about it. Because they didn't even, that wasn't even a word yet. Doxing wasn't even a word. I was doxed before doxing was a thing. I had retained one of the very first cyber stalking attorneys out of Orlando to help handle this for me. How eventually was it handled? It wasn't handled through the law. It was handled by a friend of mine who got tired of seeing somebody bully and terrorize somebody, and this person had a very big web page with a reach of millions a month, and put this guy on the front page and said, cyber stalker alert. And then when this started coming up in the search engines, #1, he thought it was fun to make all kinds of weird pages about me to come up. But when he started coming up, he begged my friend to take it down. And he said, I'll take it down if you leave her the hell alone. And that's why. That's how it ended. So yeah, I've had a stalker. Maybe that's why I overreact maybe a bit to people pulling that shit in me now. Because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to take a different way home every day because you think you're going to be followed because that's what your stalker led you to believe. I know what it's like to walk up to your car and make sure you can see under it first because of weird things your stalker said. I know what it's like to have web pages started about you speculating about your boob size or, how you are in bed or whatever, with a jealous husband that could have killed me over that. Yeah. You don't know people's lives. So yeah, people suck. If anyone ever has a question, as you can tell from this video, I'm an open book. Why am I an open book? Because I learned a long time ago, there's nothing you can hide. When you hide something, all you do is create a target where a stalker will come into your life and take delight in uncovering it. So I don't hide anything. I don't give people that power over me. But now what I've discovered, it doesn't matter if you're open, because people just take the facts and then make up shit. What do you do when people make up shit? So, you ever have a question about me? Just ask me, because I'll tell you. Or if I ain't going to tell you, I'll tell you. I'm not going to tell you, like, you know, something personal between me and my husband now. I'm obviously not going to tell you, but things about my past, I'll tell you. I come from a place that I've decided that being open helps people. Like, there are women who won't admit they were going through OCD or going through depression, who have written me over the years who said I saved their life because I'm open about it. And it's particularly in church circles. Or open about my abortions, who are so grateful. Or open about the fact that, you know, I'm a strong woman, but I was intimidated for 20 years. And open about the fact that even though that happened, my ex isn't a bad person. And he had his own issues, and I wasn't perfect. Not that I brought it upon myself, but I certainly wasn't perfect. And why? Because I grew up in an abusive home. I grew up in a home. This is going to get heavy for you guys. I grew up in a home. Let me keep my composure. My dad was brutal to my mother. And he used to be an alcoholic and a chain smoker. And apparently, one second. So apparently one day, I was just a baby, and I was sitting on my mom's lap, and he went to punch her. And he missed, and he hit me instead as a under a year old. And he decided on that day that it was terrible. No man ever hit a baby. And he quit drinking and smoking on the day, so his aim would be better. And so he never hit me again. Didn't mean he didn't stop punching my mother. So that's what I grew up with. And I was born in 67, so you're talking about growing up through the 70s. And I would run screaming down the street. You'd call the police. Back then, the police would come to our house, and they'd say, "What did you do to provoke him?" So you might complain about domestic violence laws now. That's why there are those laws, because that's what used to be told to women. So I knew the police would never protect us. So as a little girl, I became my mom's protector. What does that mean when you're 7, 8 years old? It means that as a little kid, you hide a knife under your bed because you're convinced that one day your dad's going to try to kill your mom and you're going to have to stab him. That never happened, thank God. And my dad and I had a great relationship before he died. My mom died first, and he became a Christian and reformed his ways. So I'm at peace with that. But that's a terrible way to grow up. But what does that lead to? That leads to you finding love and acceptance with a guy who is just like your father. Now, I didn't get punched. I got verbally abused. But abusive kids in abusive homes often end up in abusive marriages. And it took me till I was like 45 to be out of that and over it. So when people start these stories about me, this is what they're touching on. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I've been through. I'm proud of where I'm at. And I'm open like this and willing to cry like this because I know there are people watching this that are crying too. They're going, "Oh my God, I grew up like that." Listen, when you're young, things make an impression upon you. And during the 70s, for some reason, there were a lot of stories about intimate partner violence and how if a woman was going to get killed, it was probably her boyfriend or her father. And I must have saw a special or something on this when I was very young and impressionable. So I grew up terrified that my dad was going to kill my mom. And he probably could have. I mean, all the signs were there. But that's all I thought about, is my dad was going to kill my mom. And I'd sneak into the bedroom at night, their bedroom at night, just to make sure she was still breathing. Not a good life. So that's the trauma people like to relive. So there you go. And if any of you live life like that, there's healing. I reconciled with my dad. My mom died when I was 29. So here you go. Now you know a little bit of my past and why liberty is so important to me, and why a lot of things come from a place of pain, and why now I don't let people tell me what to do. If I want to dye my hair pink, I'm going to dye my hair pink. If I want to show my boobs, I'm going to show my boobs, because of the controlling past that I had. I could tell you stories that probably, maybe they wouldn't shock you. I think a lot of us live in a silent bubble of pain, and we don't realize that others are going through the same thing or went through the same thing. Maybe all of us had really screwed up childhood and we don't know it because we don't talk about it. But this is, you know, my psychologist told me this is why I have OCD, is because as a child I started obsessing upon my dad killing my mom, and I became a checker. Check if she's breathing, check if this, check if that. And that's why I have OCD as an adult, is because of that trauma as a child. And now that I'm secure with a good marriage and a good life and whatever, I don't really have it anymore. I mean, you always have it, but not like I used to. I didn't mean for this to be like the exposition of my life, but in the People Suck edition, I just figured it was a good time to spill some of the beans. And also then to encourage you, because I have to be reminded of this. When you're a dick to someone, listen, they probably have a story like mine. And you don't know. You don't know what your offhanded comment does to them. No, words aren't violent. Words aren't violence. Words aren't a net violation, but that doesn't mean they don't hurt people. You know? Sticks and stones will hurt my bones. Words will never hurt me. No, words can hurt damn. Now, that's the price of freedom, isn't it? Let me tell you, during those 20 years where I was called slut, whore, cunt, whatever, sorry for the language, that's what I was called. And, bitch, you know, if I had a dime for each of those, I'd be wealthy. Let me tell you, those were just words. I'd have rather he punched me. I'd have rather he punched me than call me all those names for those years. Punch is quick, you know, and then maybe you could hit back and feel a little better. But words do hurt. It might not be a net violation, but that doesn't mean they don't harm people. So think about your words. There's something in the Bible. There's a lot of talk about the tongue in the Bible, where it talks about the tongue is the smallest organ of the body. Oh, it's being metaphorical, but with it, forests can be set on fire and ships can be sent off to war. That the tongue, the wagging of the tongue can bring down the destruction of empires. That the power of life and death is in the tongue. With the tongue, you can destroy a person or build them up. Choose to use this power you have to build people up. If there's someone you don't like, just avoid them. What good does it do to tear other people down? You're being irresponsible with a deadly weapon, in a way. People kill themselves over words. When I was in middle school, there was a girl who was picked on all the time. She killed herself. Nobody ever beat her up, not that I know of. It was words. Words are bad sometimes, and the internet has made it worse. The amount of bullying and inhumanity and unkindness that happens on Facebook, it just isn't right, and I do it too. Me, of all people, I should know better, right? I like it when people call me to account to say, you know, You were a jerk to that person. You don't know their life. You don't know what they're going through, and that's true. I don't. I try to choose each day to practice random acts of kindness, to practice random acts of empathy. Why did Arvin's words disturb me so much? Maybe now you know. I believe that liberty is empathy, that liberty is caring for other people, because liberty can be cold. Liberty can be not caring about the little girl whose mother is getting beat up. Because in a stateless society, or even in a minimal state society, who's going to protect that little girl? Even in the big state society, the police didn't protect me or my mom. You'd require the community. And to have a community, you require empathy and caring and having your eyes open to see what's going on with your neighbor. The fact that we have people today that we have more contact, allegedly, in the internet with people, yet we are lonelier than ever before. Look in your life. Why do we have these school shootings? I'm convinced it's because there's lonely and beat up kids that have problems. Some of them are just evil, I suppose, but some of them I just think are deeply troubled, and we've isolated ourselves, and we do not reach out to the troubled people. One thing I learned when I had T-Web forum, my battery's probably going to run out before I'm done, is that a lot of people who live their lives on online forums are because they have disorders that keep them from going out of the house. There was a lot of people with Asperger's syndrome on theology forums. The best people in the world you'd meet, but they didn't go out because people judged them. Aspies love me. I think I've got a bit of it myself. Girls are underdiagnosed, so this is a self-diagnosis, but I think I got it. But Aspies love me. Why? Because I don't care if you hold eye contact with me too long when we talk. I don't care if your mannerisms are a bit different. Connect with people. Connect with the weirdness of people. Being weird is cool. So, if I've inspired you or bummed you or did whatever today, this is what I encourage you to leave with. Be a force for good. Find the lonely, isolated person. And if you're the lonely, isolated person, reach out to other people. And when you see me, or you see yourself, or you see other people just making up shit and being bad to people for no reason, call them out. We've got to take care of this ourselves in our own community. And if you ever hear or have a question about me, come to me. My phone number is 561-523-2250. Call me. You know, let's rejoice in shared humanity and not be assholes to each other. How much better would our party be? All right, now it's 2 a.m. So now I'm going to get to work. Hopefully I'll keep this up. I might see it tomorrow and be horrified that I was so real with people. But I think we do better activism when we see other people as human beings and not as this person I disagree with, right? Good night.